You guys who are the arms to the community for it. So all the information that you get and you're out there about, all the work you do for us and bring back. Super appreciative. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, thanks for
All right, let's go ahead and get this meeting started. It's Tuesday, March 24th, 6 p.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bozo. Commissioner Brinson.
Here.
Commissioner Fields.
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez.
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Here.
Vice Chair Miller. Chair Martinez.
Here. Awesome. Thank you. Vice Chair Miller, can you do this in the class?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, get the secretary's report.
Agenda was posted on March 18th, 2026.
If I could, Chair, I just wanted to, tomorrow, the city council is having their study session. That's why we have this set up going tonight. This is all set up for 8:30 tomorrow for their meeting. So we apologize a little interesting here with it, but we make do, and it'll be ready for them in the morning as well. So, and that is a public meeting if anyone is interested in participating and attending, and they will have a follow-up on April 2nd as well in terms of study sessions on sort of their this is their work program and just kind of priorities and various things. With that, there's an agenda posted. So if you want to kind of look at what a little more details of that, but again, apologies a little bit, but we'll make do. Come on in, come on over.
Just glad that you see them. Are you? Okay, so looks like we're gonna get an approval of our previous 2 special meetings. Is that something that we need next item? I've read over the February 3rd and the month 4th and choose your approval. That was my second motion. Second. Thanks for the second name from the next item on our agenda.
Still need a vote.
All in favor? Aye. So now we're needing the approval of our March 24th agenda for today's meeting. I move we accept the agenda as drafted. All in favor? Aye. Awesome. Introductions. Any introductions for today?
Well, Ryan, but he'll introduce himself. I don't think he's been to this commission. Have you?
I did last week.
Okay, then he's already been here and he's already been introduced, but we have new commissioners, but I'll let him introduce himself separately from that point.
Okay, moving on to public comment items that are not on the agenda.
Versus Yuba Cooper.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Mila. I was here a few months ago with my kids talking about playgrounds and the trouble we have with not enough shade. And I wanted to come back again because last week I was not able to take my 4-year-old daughter to playgrounds probably more than half the days of the week, because even though technically it was still winter, at Where I live, it was 102 according to the thermometer. So, knowing that the temperatures, do not have a tendency to go down right now. Every year it's getting hotter and hotter, and I appreciate people, I know last time you guys talked about shade and stuff like that. But I wanted to also bring up the idea that we might want to put in natural shade with trees because it is noticeably cooler when you have large trees instead of just like metal shielding or whatever. They just do not absorb heat and keep it the way that artificial stuff does. So I wanted to bring it up again since it's impacting my life. I figure I'll just come back and say hi to you guys and remind you every time I can't take my daughter to the playground. So you probably are gonna see me again a few more times the rest of the year. Thank you.
What park was that again?
I'm sorry.
What park was that?
So we go to Christmas Hill Tree Park and Sunset. Oh, I'm sorry, Carriage Hill and Sunset. And neither one of those where the structures are, they don't have any tree.
Uses open circulation to create a defined disc golf loop that is predictable, easy to follow, and compatible with the park as it operates. What you're looking at on the map is a numbered layout that stays entirely on the branch side addition. It is designed to start and finish near the same access area, so parking and entry are straightforward. The holes are spaced to spread groups out, reduce congestion, and avoid heavy pedestrian trafficked areas. The routing is intentional. It moves players through open landing areas and uses clear, consistent lines of play so that both players and non-players can predict where the discs will be flying, which is key. Disc golf can coexist in shared public parks when it is designed and communicated clearly. That's why this proposal also includes a signage commitment. We would install a clear rules and safety board at the entry point and additional awareness signs at key crossings that simply let people know that this is a disc golf area and that flying discs may be present. The rules are straightforward: yield to pedestrians at all times, never throw if someone is within range of an errant disc, and respect any temporary closures. So the park remains a shared space and disc golfers are responsible for being good guests in it. In terms of process, I'm prepared to finalize a layout with fellow disc golfers in collaboration with staff. I'm requesting a city guided review of the constraints, zones to avoid, safety buffers, sensitive areas, and any other considerations that we can refine before anything is installed. As a next step, we would like to host a soft opening or kickoff tournament on April 11th. The purpose isn't just to play, it's to model safe etiquette, introduce the course in an organized way, and establish a stewardship culture from day one. We want to set the expectation immediately that this course is maintained, respected, and managed responsibly. A volunteer group can also support the city reporting hazards, damage, and helping educating players. So my request is that you support moving this forward as a branch side edition pilot layout with a staff guided walk and a clear checklist of requirements so that we can deliver a final city compliant version quickly. I'm happy to answer any questions, walk through the map hole by hole, and provide a full proposal packet digitally and in print. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Mario Messiah.
I'm sorry, that was speaking on item 9.4.
1.4.
Okay, so apologies. Okay, those are all ones before.
No more public comment.
you have a rough estimate of how many public
Two.
comment for item 124?
Two.
So we have two speakers for other items on the agenda. If anybody else is planning to speak, please give us a speaker's form if you would.
So it looks like we can jump into new business, correct?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the City Center Master Plan. We have Ryan, can you give us an overview of that?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ryan Ossington. I'm the project manager within Public Works here. One of the projects I'm overseeing is our Civic Center Master Plan. Some of you have probably seen this presentation before. If you have, sorry, it'll be about 20 minutes. If you haven't, enjoy. We are open for comments through Friday. So in close of business on Friday is when our public comment period closes. So if you have questions or anything like that, or feel very strongly about certain aspects of what we're planning to do around the Civic Campus and with the environmental impact report, you can shoot me an email. My information's in this presentation, and then we will log that and move it on from there. Okay. So a couple of things. If you have questions during the presentation, please hold them till the end. Reason for that is the slides flow into each other. So there's going to be some continuation of conversation. So most of your questions will get answered during the presentation. But if you have any questions, please save them till the end. I'll talk about a couple of things. The first thing we'll do is the background and the why of a Civic Center Master Plan. Then we'll go through the plan review that we have. We'll review the draft environmental impact report, and then we'll have a quick Q&A at the end. So what is a Civic Center Master Plan? The Civic Center Master Plan is essentially the long-term planning document we use to develop facilities within our footprint. So the reason the library and the police station got built previously was that was a part of the master plan that got passed in 2002. We are trying to update that process and get us up into 2026. So for us, this is going to guide our development and design around the core facilities that really run and operate our city. Our civic footprint is Church Street to Dowdy Street, which is the next cross street, 6th Street to 7th Street. So it's this little square that all of our buildings live on right now. So this is a overview so you can see currently right now we are in the building right here in the middle. This one right here, everybody can see that. That's City Hall. So our footprint again is between 6th and 7th from Church to Dowdy. We have a couple of different buildings within this campus. The first one is our senior center, and we have our police station, we have our library, we have our city hall, we have Wheeler Auditorium, we have our annex. And then these are the surface area parking lots that are provided for all city facilities. So why do we need a master plan? Really, we need this to help manage the vision for our footprint long term. The most recent one was adopted in 2002. And since 2002, the city of Gilroy has seen a 42% increase in population. Sorry, I'm a little sick, so I have stuff running down my throat right now. So I keep tripping over my words. I apologize. One of the main drivers behind us trying to develop this master plan is the age of our current infrastructure. A lot of our buildings are aging very rapidly, and we need major investment in them in order to continue running the city at a high level. So for example, Wheeler Auditorium was built in the 1940s and has received minimal renovations since then. That building is over 80 years old. City Hall was built in the 60s and has also received minimal renovations. When I say minimal renovations, I mean we've only done stuff like fix the carpet, repair ceiling tiles. We haven't done major construction to these buildings since they were originally built. Our senior center was built in the 50s and it received 2 renovations. The most recent one was in 2002, so 24 years ago since it was updated. And our annex, which is the former police headquarters, was built in the 60s and got 1 renovation in 1986. I was born in 1989, so it's been a little while since that building's been updated. So we've gone through kind of a long process to get us to this point. In November of 2024, the City Council awarded a contract to ELS, Urban Architecture and Design, to help lead the development of our master plan. And last time I came to speak with the Planning Commission, we were trying to drive up support to come to our community meetings, which were last spring. We held several public forums over a 4-month period where we started with an original concept, we gathered community feedback, we changed the concept, presented it again, made adjustments, and it's led us all to the current plan that we have here. So a couple of things to note for our master plan. The police station was constructed in 2010, so it's a brand new building and it's not being updated or renovated as a part of the master plan. The police station will stay exactly how it is. The library was constructed in 2012 and it is not being updated as a part of the master plan, but it is receiving updates in the fall using some of the leftover bond proceeds from when we built it 13 years ago. So it will have a renovation, but that is outside the scope of the Civic Center master plan. So with our plan, we would demolish 4 buildings within our footprint. The first would be City Hall, the Annex, which is the former police headquarters, the Wheeler Auditorium, and the Senior Center. And in place of those, we would build a new City Hall, a new multi-generational facility, a recreational facility with an aquatic center, and we would add a newly created civic park. This is a 3D rendering of what the new Civic Center Plaza would look like. So just to give you some reference, the bottom of the screen is Church Street, okay? And the right-hand side of the screen is 6th Street. So where we currently are would be right in about the middle of the screen. So again, these are the streets just to kind of give you an idea of where we're looking at. That would be the police station. Again, not touching the police station, remains unchanged. Library, City Hall, our multi-generational facility, and our recreational and aquatic center. And this would be our newly created civic park. So we'll start with the park. Our newly created civic park would be approximately the size of a football field, just shy of 52 yards wide by 120 yards long. We would have a shaded paseo for community events, farmers markets, outdoor activities. That would be trees that provide shade to help cool and keep everywhere cool. So I was paying attention. I was ready for it.
I was gonna say.
It would also provide immediate access to all the new on-site facilities, as well as a short walk to downtown and Gourmet Alley. We would feature an outdoor walking loop, a interactive water feature. We'd have dedicated bike parking, and we're currently tracking towards 425 available parking spots. And we would have the ability to increase that up to 180 by adding a parking structure as well. So this is an aerial view of what that site plan would look like. So you can see in the middle of the screen, you have your shaded paseo. That's the overlay of a football field into the park area. So as you can see, it's a pretty good sized green space and outdoor space in a downtown portion of town that does not have a park within walking distance. I think the closest park is probably over off of Miller or 3rd Street, somewhere over there. So it would bring a much needed outdoor activity space to the downtown area. That would be our shaded paseo where we could have community events. And then these is some of the outdoor walking loop, and the interactive water feature as well would be in there. That would just be ground level sprouts, nothing, no sitting water, just what's like the puddle jumper things, you know what I'm talking about? And then this is a overlay of the parking. So as you can see, we would add street parking along 6th, Church, and 7th. And then we still have the lot that's just across the street here at Rosanna. So in total, we'd have 425 parking stalls with the ability to add up to 180 more. And you can do that right where the number 224 is. There is an alternate plan to turn that section into a parking structure that would match the same height as the library and the new City Hall. So it would blend in with all of the facilities, but it would add an additional 180 parking stalls. For our multi-generational facility, this would be the new home for the Senior Center. It would also have a newly created auditorium and theater for the performing arts with balcony seating. It would have an updated dining facility with indoor and outdoor seating, as well as a half gymnasium dedicated for activities, events, and parties at the multi-generational facility. We would have Parks and Recreation office space and a newly created teen center, as well as an art studio and an art multipurpose room. And the approximate square footage would be just over 41,600. So it's a fairly good sized building, has a lot built into it. So this is a floor plan of what that would look like. And we'll start here. This is the community lounge and the senior activity room, so dedicated spaces for our seniors. We would have a auditorium with seating for, I believe, 150 with a balcony as well. Indoor, outdoor industrial kitchen, so a step up from the kitchen we currently have at the senior center with indoor, outdoor seating. And then a dedicated half gymnasium so we can have more activities on site at the senior center without having to move across to what currently is Wheeler and where the new recreation facility would go. This would be the office space for the staff. And then this is the second level. All the buildings are 2 stories within our new master plan. Upstairs, you would have the youth lounge and youth activity center, as well as the art studio and art multipurpose room. And then you have your balcony seating and control room for the auditorium. That's a breakout of the square footage. And this is a illustrative of the exterior of the building, what we'd anticipate it looking like. All our buildings are styled to match the existing facade of both the police station and the library. So everything would blend in. Think that color scheme, those type of corners, things like that, right? For our recreation and aquatic center, this would have a dedicated lap pool and activity pool, as well as pool locker rooms. It would feature a full-size indoor basketball court with the ability to host at least 2 games simultaneously. We would have 3 multi-purpose rooms. Oops, wrong button. Parks and recreation office space, an indoor weight room, a dedicated fitness classroom with gym locker rooms as well, and an indoor elevated walking track for those that don't like to interact with other people while watching their kids' basketball games. You can go get some steps in. So this is another layout for what that would look like. We'll start over here with the pool. So the pool would sit currently where the parking lot is between the library and Wheeler. So that would be the new pool space. This would be a lap pool, not quite an Olympic sized lap pool, but a large pool similar to the indoor pool at the Morgan Hill CRC. It'd be about that size. Our facility would be outdoors. It would not be indoors. Then you have your locker rooms, men's and women's locker rooms for pool activities, our indoor gymnasium, the multi-purpose rooms downstairs for different activities, and then office space. And then up on the second floor, more offices. We'd have a multi-purpose workout room, a weight room that would be about the same size as Morgan Hill CRC weight room, if anybody goes over there. And then a dedicated fitness classroom, as well as men's and women's locker rooms for working out. And then one of my favorite features in the whole thing is this indoor elevated walking track. It's fantastic for those summer days where you need to get your steps in, but it's too hot. Come inside, cool AC in a gym, you can get some steps in still. So something that I'm pretty excited for right there. More square footage. Again, this is the exterior. So that big window you see on that picture middle right, that would overlook the pool. So that would be the weight room where the treadmills and all that stuff would be. And it would have a view of the pool and the library. And then for City Hall, it would be new council chambers with a view of the Civic Park, improved lobby and public counters for services, and dedicated office space for city staff. And we expect that to be about 47,500 square feet. Again, this is a layout, and that would be the council chambers. So council chambers would sit kind of in that space just before the Paseo currently between us and the library. So the view would be heading towards church, if that helps you orient at all. Then we'd have several public counters available for all the departments that work closely with the public. And then we have dedicated office space, but it hasn't been completely allocated. So you just see blank squares right now. And then this would be the second floor as well, where you have more public counters, reception areas, and then dedicated office staff. And this would be the exterior building. So another part of the master plan is having an environmental impact report completed. The impact report essentially says you are planning to do construction. These are the things that it will affect or could affect or how it will affect, right? So this is a public document that's required under the California Environmental Qualities Act, where a project might, quote, significantly affect the environment. So It is essentially a study that explains how your project could impact the environment and steps you can do to reduce those impacts. ELS has partnered with EMC Planning to produce our draft EIR. And EMC highlighted some of the items that could be impacted or will be impacted by the development of this project. There are four categories it could fall into: no impact, less than significant impact, potentially significant, and unavoidable. So for us, we had 6 items that were no impact, 10 that were less than significant, and only 1 that was significant and unavoidable. So we'll start with some of the lower impact stuff. So these are the no impact items, right? These are air quality control plan. And it gets into the level of, oh, you're going to have a bulldozer out there. Well, that's going to put off some black smoke, which people might not like the smell of. So smell is something that could impact the environment, right? It gets into that level of it. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but you can get a quick understanding of the idea of the no impact items. Some of the less than significant impact items, it's potential adverse effects on special status wildlife species, which would be protected bats. If they nest in any of our trees or surrounding areas, how would that impact them, or birds? And exposure of sensitive receptors to operational source toxic air contaminants. That sounds like a lot. That means I'm running tractors and equipment outside and you're going to walk by and smell it. Like that is a breakdown of that, right? And then some of the other less than significant impact items, generating greenhouse gas emissions, potential loss of damage to Native American human remains during construction. We don't fully know what was buried underneath here from a long time ago. You never know what you're going to find, right? The significant and unavoidable impact item was the most important piece of the draft environmental impact report, though. And we had one item that did hit on that, and that would be the proposed project would cause the loss of a historic resource, which is Wheeler Auditorium. Like we said, Wheeler has been around since the 1940s. It's not in the National Historic Buildings, but it is registered with the state. So there's a process that we have to follow in order to mitigate some of those impacts. And so those steps would be prior to issuing the demolition permits, we would have to have a qualified architectural historian come through and document the building. So they would take pictures of everything. They would have logs of all of the draft design plans, the floor plans, any drawings, full photographs, every interior, exterior, everything you have just to fully document the settings of the building. And then a historian would submit all those documents to the California Historical Resources Information System. That's where it would live from that point on. So for us, the next steps is we're currently focused on having the master plan adopted by City Council. We're hoping to have that happen in June. Once adopted, the city staff will shift our focus to the financing and phasing plan. We understand this is a big plan. We know there's a lot of dollars tied to it. But for us to fully execute this at a high level, we need to adopt the plan, and then we can figure out full total costs and the best way to execute on those costs and bring them down and try to get this built as quickly as possible. So for us, our goal is to have a ballot initiative in 2028 pending city council adoption. Okay, I tried to get through that as quick as I could. I know a lot of you have heard it before, so I'll open it up for any questions from commission members.
So, with respect to the aquatic planes, are they, when you say they're the size of the CRC, the typical plane for people to do laps is usually 25 yards. Are they at least 25 yards in length?
So they would be that in length. But the difference in an Olympic pool and a lap pool like this is usually going to be the width of it. The distance is going to stay the same. It'd be about 25 yards. But the width, we're not going to have, I think it's 14 lanes in an Olympic pool, something like that. It's going to be a little bit smaller than that.
And on the multi-generation facility, you said, is that a dedicated basketball court? Can that be adjusted? You can have pickleball or different.
So it is a indoor gymnasium. It's a half gym is what they call it. So you would get a setup where you have the hoop, the 3-point line, but it stops at half court. But then you can do anything you want with that facility. We toured I believe it was Redwood City, just built a multi-generational facility, and they had one. They had it set up for volleyball when we did the tour. So you have the ability to turn it into any sport. You could do pickleball, volleyball, basketball, or it could be a event place where you have parties and catering, things like that. So it's just a multifunctional space that's a little more focused towards activity.
As the wheel auditorium, it's been decided that it's gonna come down. There's no renovation is not.
Renovation was actually more expensive when we did an initial study on it. It was more expensive to renovate Wheeler than it was to tear it down and build a brand new 2-story building. So we've moved forward with the plan of replacement rather than renovate.
Ryan, do you know if there's what's going on beneath Wheeler? I mean, from what I understand, and I haven't seen it, but it used to be, the police used to use it, I believe, for shooting practice. So that, at least that's some old Lawrence.
We might be finding some bodies under there, huh?
Well, but at least left, right? So.
Yeah, we have not done a full study of what's underneath there. We have not done any soil testing or anything along those lines. Everything we have done has been strictly conceptual and design based. So there's been no testing done.
Excuse me, the project is going to extend from Church to Downey. Now, that's including the homes that are located on.
It is not. So let me find that. So as you can see here, it's not highlighted, but by Dowdy, you have that light gray square. Those 3 homes are privately owned. We are not doing eminent domain. We are not buying those homes. They are excluded from this project because those are private residents. We own the corner lot and that first house closest to 6th Street. So those would be included in the development of the parking lots and having a little green space as a buffer. But we have no plans to do anything with the 3 homes that are currently occupied.
For that portion of it, is it gonna be like set seating, like a heater? or-
Fixed seating, yeah. No, it would be fixed seating, theater for the performing arts. It'd be dedicated to that. So it would not be a interchangeable space.
There been like research into how much interest there is in there?
It was actually one of the main things we heard from the residents during our community sessions last spring. Yeah, there was a big push for that. So we included that as a part of the concept. Yeah.
We would see.
I don't remember exactly. I believe the number's somewhere around 120 to 150, but I'm not exactly sure. It's somewhere in that range though.
For the, I believe it was in the recreation portion of it, is there just one room dedicated for like classes, like a gym type setting?
So we have 3 multi-purpose rooms within the facility. You have 2 on the bottom floor, which would be more for like, not necessarily fitness activities and workout rooms, but on the 2nd floor, you have a dedicated fitness room for cardio and weights. You have a dedicated fitness classroom, and then we would also have a multi-purpose room. That one on the 2nd floor would be more driven towards workout and fitness, but it wouldn't be solely set up for that. The fitness classroom would be dedicated to that. That'd be like where the spin classes are, the HIIT classes, things like that.
And is the recreation assessment that be happening, is that taken into account for what we think?
Yes, yeah, that's been a part of the process. Okay, well, if anybody has any other questions, I'll put my information up on the screen. Like I mentioned at the beginning, our process or our public comment period closes on Friday at 5 p.m. So if you have any comments, questions, want to provide feedback, if you are one of the people that believe Wheeler needs to stay, feel free to shoot me an email and we'll include it in what we send over to EMC at the end of the week.
And that's,
I do building, and it is a shame for
I could, that deadline is for the environmental impact report. We will continue to take comments as well on the master plan itself. And
they just
that
won't
will-
be submitted and reviewed as a part of the environmental.
That will be till the end. I would also say that this is new business. This is one that the public should be have the option to speak on if someone, we don't have any speaker cards for this specifically, but they may have changed their mind in that point. So I would offer to open public comment and see if there's anyone who wishes to speak.
I have a question. We went through a sort of a feature list
all these things. Is there a current provider for each of the feature lists? So for instance, a theater and the Little Theater, which was over, rehearsals were over here at the Senior Center. Did their performances in the theater, I believe, very high. Have we produced where those things are currently? So we have the senior activities are at the Senior Center, youth activities, I'm not sure. Like, have we produced a comparable, like where those things are?
I don't know that we
Where they will be.
I don't know that we have a dedicated document that tracks every activity we would do, because we haven't fully broken out like all the programming that's gonna go into these spaces,
How about
so.
the facilities, like new versus replacing an existing?
So we did rough order pricing, on it, which isn't, it's not dialed in on all the specifics, that you get a range provided. So, I mentioned earlier about Wheeler, we did that for Wheeler because we were evaluating it. That was one of the big things we heard during our community meetings early on, was people didn't want to lose Wheeler. And when we did that rough order magnitude pricing for it, it came back as more expensive to renovate than it was to tear down and build new.
Let me give you, let me give an example of that, since we're sitting in this building. One of many precipitating things that led to the discussion and ultimately the decision to fund, this master plan update was an evaluation and assessment of this building because we had an air conditioning problem. And if you note, this building is like built into three separate buildings. It's a unique building because it's like three separate buildings. It's very difficult to zone and to put in systems in. And my understanding is at the time that full assessment of basically modernizing and bringing the air conditioning in this building up to where it really should be to function fully with it was in the realm of about $8 million, $8.5 million for the air conditioning system alone. That was sort of precipitating factor to maybe we should look at the master plan and talk about what our plan should be. And obviously the city hall is one of those pieces to this equation. And that was driven again, because when we looked at one component, mechanical piece to that $8.5 million at that point, and that was 2 years ago at this point, in that point. So just give context to how difficult it is to rehab and to work through buildings that even we're not, this is not that old of a building, but it was, it did not have any of the cabling for technology in the walls. Everything is running around through and chasing and dealing with that. So that's just perspective and and considerations for why it's very difficult to rehab and rebuild. We have a speaker if you want to.
Speaker pertaining to this item?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Alicia?
Hello, Alicia, Puerto Rico Story and part of Recreation Programs. I just wanted to make a comment on the pool design. I would love for you to take a look, if you haven't already, at the High School design and where the stair entrance is for that one, and then the channel as well, how it's in the middle and not all the way down at the end. So looking at the rendering, that was one thing that came to mind. Also, adaptive programs, I didn't hear anything about that. City of Palo Alto at Mitchell Park Community Center, they have a cafe called Ada's Cafe. And then they have the people who work there, they're training and they're hired, and they're people with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I would love to see something like that.
That's a fantastic idea.
Integrated.
Like I mentioned earlier, we have not developed any sense of what the programming for the buildings would be. We're at the very beginning of about a 14-step process. So we're literally in step one. But yeah,
If there was
that would be
space to
fantastic.
allocate it, maybe not even the programs. I know, like, when I was at the initial meeting when you all had everything set up in Wheeler. And since then I've visited that Palo Alto site, and I just think that would be amazing if we could do something like that, or if the library could do it. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, just out of curiosity, folks that are joining us here today, who's here pertaining to item 9.4 on our agenda? About the parking lot at Las Adams. So it seems like there's.
So we have,
Handful of folks. I want to move that item to be the next item on the agenda. So we'll move folks, wait. While we move on to the next steps. So,
Thank you, guys.
thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
excuse me, I'm sorry, we were just looking, I saw hands up and I'm not sure what, do we have, if we have speakers card for everybody that wants to, please, if you'd fill out one, we'd appreciate that. With that, that's why we're trying to figure out the mix and deal with that.
So all the speaker cards that you currently have for agenda item 2.4?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and jump into that agenda item. So that we don't keep folks waiting for those.
I would suggest that as a motion second and then a vote to do so.
So I'll move to release 9.4 out to 9.2, put 9.2 that in.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And seems like we have a decent amount on there. You want to do 2.5 minutes per speaker?
I'm gonna do a little presentation, but then you can, when you open the, I would talk about how you,
Sounds good.
how about that?
Go ahead, Joe. Part of your experience, so working. Thank you all. Or working.
Come on, man.
I got you. Working. Right here. Well, I got that. Awesome.
Took me about 16 times to learn that was where the password was. Sorry, folks, there's a little password snafu. And I'll be quick to let you guys out of here. I'm not gonna take a lot of time, but. Did he have a clicker?
Ryan had put on there.
Thank you, sir. So, I thought this one might get some interest within the community. So, and that's purpose for being here is to get some input and everything like that. So, mission accomplished. And thank you all for showing up tonight. Appreciate that. So a little background on this, just to make sure we're all on the same point of understanding. During COVID-19 pandemic, the rules were pretty strictly enforced in terms of being able to move folks around or enforce against those that were unhoused and had other kind of issues going. And we were also basically held to allowing unhoused to shelter in place in public areas, including parks and parking lots. And so as part of that, this is kind of the genesis of this issue. There were ultimately public safety concerns surrounding the conditions of these parking lots. And ultimately out of that, gates were installed and the council authorized in 2022 realm 20 into 23 closure of both of these lots, and they've been closed for roughly the last 3 years with that. I will note, and you'll see a photo, we had a request from a adjoining property owner at the Hannah Street site there to put barricades in advance of 4th of July festivities, because there's a habit of having activities going there with the fireworks and other things. And police is always stressed and pushed during that night. Frankly, we left those barricades out sort of as a trial run to see who was, if anybody was going to complain about it and see what was going on, because ultimately staff's feeling was that if we were going to keep the Hannah parking lot closed, we should look at perhaps abandoning that entire street there for the most part. We've got curb gutter sidewalk, and you can see that it's a street section going to nowhere at this point to a gate, and it's kind of awkward. And the adjoining neighbors, we're having still issues despite the gates being there. People who are going into the parking lot and having issues and dealing with that. We're just doing that in the public street. So it was a bit of a trial run. I think there's at least one individual here tonight who will speak to that maybe more specifically. So I wanted to explain how that came about. Recently, Councilmember Marks requested consideration by the council of what they call a fare memo. But basically that's a memo that they can, any council member can ask, put together, package, and ask for a policy consideration or some kind of change or direction from the council. And that ultimately was recommended and moved forward. So that was just an issue of, are we willing to consider it? The council said, yeah, we're willing to consider it. Now staff go back and take a look at this in more detail. So that's where we are, which is part of my due diligence. I'm the staff who landed with this responsibility, and so I'm doing my due diligence in part because I believe the commission has a very critical role in this in terms of looking at it from the context of functionality of the park and what whether that makes sense. Also, there was an opportunity to, in advance of a council meeting in which none of these folks attended. The first one, I'm guessing, maybe a few of you did. I wasn't there. I was on a flight back from visiting my elderly parents. But in any event, this is an opportunity for those speakers. So I'll just start with the Hannah. So today you've got the barricades up there. They're not too much of the barricades, but they're there. And those were again put up and as kind of a trial to just kind of keep things from extending to that gate. We put in at that point again years ago the gate, and that facilitated the closure of that parking lot. And then basically the right side is just what that parking lot looks like. From the two parking lots that we're talking about, structurally, pavement wise and everything, this parking lot is in far better shape than Wayland is with that, just from that perspective alone. What we did note on a recent visit out there is that we don't have a compliant van accessible parking space here. And that's something that we would have to look at if we reopen to do restriping, re-signage on that. And then we would need to also look at, make sure that path of travel there, we have accessible path of travel to any of the activities there. There's the playground and there's barbecue and picnic. So we need to look at that and deal with that. They're generally in compliance, but there's a few little minor changes we'd have to do to deal with that. But in general, from just a functional perspective, this is a pretty simple parking lot to get back operating compliantly. Wayland is certainly a unique lot. It's wrapped around next to a planned unit development project there, and it's definitely unique. You can see gated again is just like Hannah was. The parking lot itself, you can see, is rather alligatored and in kind of rough shape. And part of that's because we haven't been there really maintaining it. But that also is reflective of, I think, just the condition of the lot itself. And that maybe just the soil conditions here or just the age differential between those things. So again, just sort of conditions. At some point, and I just not gone through all the details. There was a bridge dropped into here and a ramp placed in there. Basically, these need some work if we reopen this to be compliant. They can be made compliant. Not that significant of an effort, but we would in all likelihood have to go in, dig out the ADA space, the space there, and lift it up with a lift of concrete to get it so it's flat enough. And then we have a little bit of work there to deal with it. But otherwise, you know, we could live with the parking lot as is, and operationally it would function for a while. Eventually, we will need to look at maintaining this and reconstructing this lot at some point down the road. But we have many parking lots that are in somewhat similar condition. The other issue that we're sort of contending with is that there is a bigger piece of this equation, which is that we need a accessible path of travel from the parking lot to various facilities, and we do have some challenges. You cannot really tell, but this picture on the far right, if you go out there, it's a pretty significant ramping up and concrete that's in pretty bad shape. And that is really disturbing the path of travel for anybody at the stands there for the tennis courts. And so that's an issue that we need to eventually deal with. So we also need to put an additional spectator area, accessible spectator area in that little square kind of looking area on the right side, or right side of the picture, left side of the stands there. So there's some issues because we need to get path of travel to the new restrooms that are now in place there from those spectators to that point. It has nothing to do with Wayland. So there's pieces to the puzzle here, which is there are things there that we need to work on and work toward in terms of ADA accessibility. They have nothing to do with the Wayland parking lot opening or being closed or whatever. Just an issue of what as we're looking at and kind of dealing with that, but they get linked together ultimately. And that'll be something we'll have a conversation with the council on. So next steps, as indicated, we're looking at going we've said to the council in May with some recommendations of some sort, at least a report that gives some indications of what we have here. And this meeting obviously will be open to the public and public comment accepted. I went backwards. Sorry, hit the wrong button there. So tonight we're here to seek community input and commission comment regarding an input on the potential reopening of the parking lots. Again, as I noted, your role as Parks and Rec Commission is really focus on operational functions of the park and what your thoughts are with regard to that. Certainly you can have personal opinions on other aspects of that, but I would focus your efforts as a commission on really the functional pieces to this and whether this is causing problems, issues, challenges to the operational conditions out there, to the extent that you can gather any information regarding that. For the community members, it's wide open for them to speak, and I assure you these comments will be shared with the council in conjunction with their anticipated May meeting, and they will certainly help us to formulate some ultimate response and recommendations to the city council as well. That concludes what I have.
Thank you, John. Let's go ahead and move forward to public comment.
Mario Maciel.
And you were gonna time limit?
Yes, let's do 2.5 minutes to ensure that we get flavors.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all you do. My name is Mario Maciel. I've lived in Gilroy since 1976. I'm a class of '89 from Gilroy High. I've raised 2 great children who graduated from Christopher High. I'm a current retiree from the city of San Jose's Park Recreation and Neighborhood Services after 30 years and understand the challenges you all face. But most relevantly today, I'm here because I've lived in my family home at 495 Mantelli, the closest home to the parking lots on the other side of the park. What you're hearing about today are the 2 smallest parking lots that give service to that park. The larger and most used by the general public are those. I wouldn't be here today, ladies and gentlemen, if the community were asking to reopen if the very community that suffers the real impacts of homelessness and of crime, and again, issues that need services, people that need serious help, undoubtedly. But what I'm talking about is we're here about tennis players who use this facility 1 hour a day. How do I know this? I live on the front row seat of this. I walk my dog there 3 times a day. Tennis courts are never used in the evening. The gentlemen that are there earning money, giving lessons, God bless them, and love markets. But the truth be told is that that community who has to deal with the realities of what happens there when you all leave. And this feeding us this land, the Gilroy PD will patrol it. I have with you my court order and my restraining orders based on an individual who sat in the parking lot there terrorizing my family. And I would love to sit with you and tell you about the nightmare of 6 months of someone sitting there stalking my family. As a now much more Catholic and restrained individual, I didn't go back to my medieval ways as a younger gentleman. Your friend Jesse Menace there will tell you I would have probably have resolved things by putting my foot up his ass. But truth be told, this society needs resolution to a lot of societal problems, but you don't do it on the backs of those that are supporting and paying the taxes that keep our services moving forward. We contemplated relocating out of this city, but I love Gilroy. Again, I've raised my family here. I plan on living here till the day I die. But that park should be an asset. And Ms. Marquez, who wrote in that letter insinuating that people that buy a home near a park know what they're getting into is ridiculous. That's the kind of rhetoric that politicians use when they're being pressured by their friends. This is ridiculous. I hope you'll consider we who live there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joe Pagioga.
And if anyone wants to see the restraining orders or anything, I'll share it with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Joe Pagoga, and I'm not from Gilroy originally. I came here from Idaho, found a community that I love, right next to a park that I love. I moved in right when all the chaos was happening in the parking lot, and I saw things that my mind is still spinning. As a park worker, I work in a park in the Bay Area. I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I had because of that parking lot at Wayland Court is where I'm discussing. And that's really all I have to say about it. But my neighbor who can't be here, she wrote a letter for the first council meeting that we were told we weren't allowed to speak at and asked to come here by the mayor. So I'm here today, and all of my neighbors are here today. And I would like to read a letter from my neighbor that can't be here today. Her name is Shannon. My name is Shannon Glasper.
Pardon me,
Yes, sir.
how long is the?
I'll read fast.
What I'd suggest is if you're done with yours, end it, and then we can, if the chair is fine with that, then we can
Whatever.
start with another 2.5 minutes and you'll get, you won't have to rush your way through that. Is that fair?
Yeah, that works. Just let me know.
I'll be back. Thank you so much.
No, come,
Oh,
just come up
just
now.
go now? Okay. My name is Shannon Glasper. I'm a co-owner at 8540 Wayland Court with my husband Keith Glasper. And I currently serve as the treasurer of Wayland Court HOA LLC, representing the 4 homes located on Wayland Court. The issue before you today is not simply about access to parking at Los Animas Park. It's about the inconvenience and who bears the burden of it. Visitors at Los Animas Park who do not reside in the neighborhood but come to play tennis experience a temporary inconvenience when the Wayland Lane side parking lot is closed. That inconvenience lasts only the duration of their visit. When they leave the park, that ends. For those of us who live there, however, the inconvenience created when the Wayland Lane side parking lot is open does not end when the visitors go home or even when the sun sets. It is ongoing day and night, regardless of the day of the week. It exists whether or not someone is actively using the tennis courts, and regardless of whether we must get up every morning and after a night of disrupted sleep caused by noise and at times illicit activity, we remain impacted. When Wayland Lane side parking lot has been left open, it's resulted in serious and documented issues, including drug activity, fights, gang-related incidents, loud music late into the night and early morning, and repeated calls to law enforcement, some of which went unanswered due to limited resources. These are not abstract concerns. They directly affect our safety, our families, and our quality of life. When residents were asked to justify closing Wayland Lane side parking lot, it became clear that the impact was not limited to the 4 homes immediately adjacent to the park, including my own. Multiple homeowners throughout the surrounding neighborhood voiced the same concerns and requested the gate to this parking lot remain closed at all times. Despite the closure of Wayland Lane side parking lot, tennis courts and players continue to have reasonable access to parking options. The main parking lot and nearby street parking remain available. Closing this lot and gate does not eliminate access to parking, the park, or the tennis courts. For residents, however, there is no option to simply leave when conditions become disruptive or inconvenient. This is our home. This is where we sleep, where our families live, and where our friends come to visit. We are here for more than a few hours on a couple of days a week. Since the Wayland Lane side gate to the parking lot has been closed, safety, peace of mind, and overall calmness have been restored. Residents once again feel comfortable sitting on their porches, balconies, and backyards without being subject to loud music, fighting, drug activity, or excess profanity at all hours of the day and night. Expectations that
I hate to interrupt you, I really do apologize. But we need to respect.
Yes, sir.
If we can have a copy,
You're good.
can we have a copy?
I think that you guys have heard what I have to say and understand also the feeling that my neighbors have. So thank you for letting me
And
speak.
Joe, if you wanna leave that letter with us, that would be.
With that being
Yes, that's
acceptable,
okay with me.
Absolutely.
it's fine with me. I have plenty of copies. So thank you very much for your time.
Next up is Araceli Bagura.
Okay, hi everyone, sorry, I'm a little under the weather today. Araceli Vaquera, I think I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of you. I think, Ms. Morales put this on back in 22. When we moved into, when my family and I moved into the corner of Hannah and Arnold. Just to give you a quick timeline to help out John here. I brought it to the city council's, into the city council's awareness back in August of 22. By 11 of 22, the gate was installed. Unfortunately, as you know, the Fátima Veterans Park is open from 6 a.m. doesn't close till 11 p.m. So they said we'll have the nighttime security come and close the gates at 11 p.m. As you know, during the fall and winter hours, sunsets, it starts by 5 p.m. The ongoing activity was still happening. Fights were happening on a Sunday afternoon during the daytime. It didn't matter. It wasn't just the issues with the unhoused. Like one of the neighbors said, it's the noise level, it's the gang activity, it's the drug activity, it's everything else that, because the parking lots are so hidden and not visible like they are in the telly, it just brings a lot of negativity. So then in March 18th of 23, they firmly closed them down, along with part of the issue with the private security is that people would quit and they wouldn't be able to get people to come at night and close them down. In September of 23, Ms. Marks again proposed to the city council that they reopen the gates, at which time everybody was in agreement except her, that no, we're gonna keep them closed. So since September of 23, they have been permanently closed. And like one of my neighbors said, our quality of life has improved dramatically. We are not trying to keep people away from the park. If anything, it has invited more people to come onto the park. If you go out there and talk to the neighbors, they will say, I cannot walk my dog because I know that there's not broken bottles that will hurt my dog. You have people coming with the children and actually using the playground. So I think that outside on the mentality, that is your community park. On the south side, that's more of your neighborhood park, which I think serves all purposes, right? We want people there for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. Everybody should feel safe going to their park, not unsafe. We have so many apartments here in Gilmore. Think about all the hot Afternoons, evenings, where do you wanna go? You wanna go to a park, you wanna go to a park, you wanna go sit. Along,
I hate to interrupt you.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
I will be emailing you, I got over 100, we got over 100 signatures from local residents, I will be emailing this to you. Where they want these parking lots to enclose, and if we can start thinking about what else we could do with that space instead, so that we don't face it again and again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alicia?
Hello again. So I grew up on Fern and Pentelli, and Los Angeles was our park that we went down and hung out and looked for cod eggs in the creek and you know, I went to summer playground programs at Los Angeles. It was different than what it is today. Flashback to 2012. I worked as a recreation leader and ran the playground program at Los Angeles. There was a lot more activity there when I worked there, and unfortunately, one of our participants, a 5 or 6 year old, mom was a nurse, and he was out there and playing down a needle. Mom's a nurse, played nurse with a needle. I share that because if you open these parking lots, that type of activity is going to pick up. More, I mean, it's going to. That area, back when I was growing up, that was the place to be, you know, a lot of people moved there. Today, unfortunately, I hear about people moving from San Jose and they buy houses there and they're like, I gotta move. Why? Councilmember Mark's comments, very disheartening, extremely disheartening. Being from Gilroy and just welcoming everyone in. For her to say that, oh, you bought a house there, you knew what you were getting yourself into. I was appalled by those words, and I respect all the work she does for this community, but that was neat. It was no need to say that. So yeah, I just really hope that you consider this and the impact that opening those parking lots will have. I would recommend waiting till you have a new police chief, wait till you have the comprehensive recreation assessment done. I mean, you have the pickleball courts in, wait till those are done. I mean, what's the rush in opening these parking lots that are, I mean, by the pictures, it looks like they're deteriorating, so why put money into them too? So it's multifaceted, I think, of an issue, but I just really hope you consider the impact that it would have if you decide to open them, which I hope you do. So yeah.
Daniel Medina?
Hey, thanks for your time. My name is Daniel. I live right on Arnold, right at Hannah, right across the street from the park. Yes, I'm asking for it to be real. I mean, the barricade for one's nice, or taking away public, you know, street parking spots. And the main concern here is I see the guy get injured multiple times. The fire department can't get into the ambulance can't get in there. I saw with my own eyes, a guy walking 100 yards to the barrier. So I'm just saying, if it's a life or death situation, I mean, is the city going to be held responsible for that? So also, on holidays, my court gets flooded with cars. There's illegal parking. I'm getting broken glass. You know, you're taking away the barbecue areas, the playground, where you have families walking 2 blocks, or across from Manatelli side coming all the way through, where there's, you know, open barbecue spots. So that's one of the main things right there that I have. So I'll ask you guys to consider it.
Thank you.
Skip Bloom?
Thank you for your time. My name is Skip Bloom. I'm a lifelong Gilroy resident. I'm coaching high school football for 44 seasons. So I'm grounded in there. I live right next to the park. I'm on Wayland Court. I love the park. The Wayland Lane parking lot at Los Angeles Park was closed a couple years ago because it was being used as a meeting hangout spot for teenagers and young adults, which is what the park is for, but not the parking lot. It was the partying, the loud noise, the nighttime get-togethers that made the park more of an annoyance than an asset. I love the park, and I feel it should be open to everybody. But the rudeness and lack of consideration by so many people who use the Wayland Lane parking lot as a hangout, a place to play their music as loud as they want, a place to drink alcohol and do drugs without any consideration of the families living or playing nearby. The city council voted to lock the gate to the parking lot for some very specific reasons: noise, trash, camping, etc. What has changed? What has been done to change, improve, or eliminate our concerns? Nothing. Nothing has changed. Nothing is going to change. It's still the same park with the same problems. Having a Gilroy police officer drive through the parking lot once or twice a day or night isn't going to change the negative aspect that this parking lot brings to the neighborhood. Since the parking lot was closed a few years ago, the quality of our lives have improved. For our neighborhood, no more loud music, no more large groups of cars and people congregating and playing loud music, fighting and partying late in the night. Our neighborhood is a nicer, quieter, and safer place to live. It's been a substantial and significant difference. Please consider the neighbors and the neighborhood when making this decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, folks.
Daphne Dykman.
I'm not texting anyone, I'm just preparing some thoughts. So thank you so much firstly for hearing all of us residents, near the park. Hello, my name is Daphne Deichman, and I live on Arnold Drive in the neighborhood, immediately next to the Wayland parking lot of Los Angeles Park. While considering whether to purchase our first house behind Los Alamos, my husband and I performed 3 different stakeouts so we could assess the safety of the park. We felt it was safe. I am advocating for the Wayland and Hannah parking lots to remain closed, to remain feeling safe. While I'm a relatively new resident and did not experience these lots while they were open, I worry about the potential issues that may arise were these lots to be reopened. As an active runner and dog owner and thus dog walker, I find myself at our beautiful park multiple times a day, and I enter and exit the park on foot via the Wayland and Hannah lots. As a woman visiting the park alone or with my small dog, I feel mostly safe entering the park and exiting the park at all times of day, as early as 7 a.m. and as late as 8 p.m. Were the lots to be reopened, I would worry for my direct safety and for the safety of other dog owners and families. And I really may not be as likely to go to the park. I fear drug dealing would take place in these lots, which may lead to potential violence and other crimes virtually in my backyard. And at worst, I fear a shooting may result and that a stray bullet could end up in my or one of my neighbors' homes, which terrifies me. So rather than open us up to this kind of risk, I implore you to keep these lots closed. I propose instead that the lots be turned into additional lawn with more trees planted to add even more beauty and serenity to our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Allison Robinson.
I think I'm here in support of El Roble Park, so I know this is a different park meeting on the agenda. But I live close to El Roble Park. Ironically, I worked here as a 16, 17, and 8-year-old for the city of Gilroy right here in this office. And I've decided to relocate and move here to Gilroy with my family. I currently teach at
I can interrupt you, but is this for a different agenda item, John?
El Roble is on the agenda, and that should be when you, if you're gonna speak about the El Roble issue, that would be the time to speak.
right now.
No,
Um,
we're gonna come up to that item. This is
okay.
not Los Angeles
Okay.
only.
Okay, Los Angeles, okay, all right, I'll come back to that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks. But no, it's still, you know.
It's
still not intended, just not, we're not.
It's coming.
Yeah,
It's time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's next, right?
Chair, that is the last of the speakers on this item, with that, so,
Awesome. So,
normal course would be to close public comment and then commence discussion.
yeah, I'd like to close public comment. Do I need approval for this?
No.
Perfect. I think this is a good time, for us to all have a discussion and, share our thoughts based on what we heard, based on our experiences. So Jesse, you can start with you. You like and make our way down. Just your kind of initial thoughts. Ideally, if we're ready and if there's a consensus, I think we can take a formal stand as a commission. So that this is presented to the city council next time around in May.
Yeah, I feel that, obviously there's parking issues, I kind of only imagine once the pickleball courts come in, we're gonna have parking issues on that side of the park. Until then, I just feel to support most of the varsity those, but I'm not sure if that's, appropriate to voice at this time, but yeah, we need to do something about the parking playgrounds. I think that's one other playground that we have other than the one on the west side of the park. So I'm gonna have to figure something out, but that's my opinion. That's all I have to say.
I feel this touches on so many different things that we have discussed. There are many parking lots in the park system that have this problem. This one is particularly exacerbated because it's so close to the residents. So Christmas Hill has this problem, however, they don't have residents nearby. From a public safety standpoint, I don't think that we should speak. I think that should be driven by the council and the police department to provide solutions regarding lighting, safety, gate closures, et cetera, to be responsible for the public safety. I think that we're set for that. From a facility standpoint for the parks, absent all those other things, I would like to know more about the condition of the parks since it's been closed. I've heard about models. I've heard about noise complaints, but I don't have any data on that. So I can't provide a recommendation for that based on. I think they're really sympathetic to the speakers that I heard tonight. I want all of those people who are nearby to feel safe, particularly those who are using the park and feel vulnerable entering next to the park to feel safe to use it. That's our first priority from the park's perspective. So thank you.
I feel that the current parking lot, I've been there at night, it's full, it's busy, and there's no lighting. But I definitely think safety is the first priority, I guess. But I do think there needs to be a solution because we shouldn't just have crumbling infrastructure. And it is a community park, so people should be able to access it, and it should be an amenity to the residents so that they're not a safety hazard. So it's a complicated situation with safety, but I'm kind of in agreement of the request to maybe wait until other improvements happen at the park and then see about, getting them up to looking nice and operating again. But I do think, we should either use them or convert them to something else.
The reason why I joined the commission in the first place was for safety of the parks. So, I actively use less time in this park, so I know that typically that does happen, and I know the history of those parking lots. But to me, I'm hearing that this is a bigger problem, right? There's something. It's bigger than just parking lots. Parking lots, I feel like, is maybe a band-aid for the moment, but there's something bigger going on, right? So there needs to be change on a different level, in my opinion. But for the time being, I'd be in favor of most folks to keeping them closed until we have that solution, until we have a plan in place. But a plan that we can be held accountable to. I've heard a couple of people mention that there is gonna be security or opening, closing of gates, and that didn't happen. So I think as city of York needs to be held accountable to those events. Yeah, so for the time being, I agree to keep them closed until there's a formal plan. But I really like what Mitch said, Commissioner. This is maybe not the decision for us to make at the moment, because it's such a big issue, right? And I think there's really a bigger problem and a different focus that needs to be addressed.
I just referred to our mission statement, part of as the commissioners. Our mission statement says that we embrace wellness, recreation, and park safety is one of those. And I hear plenty of others telling me that they don't feel safe. They lived there for a while. We've had one gentleman tell us he had issue with somebody that had a restraining order. I walked through that park. I know what that park looks like. I don't live that far away. I know what it was like when those things were open. I fully embrace keeping those things closed. I do like the idea of waiting to get a full picture of what's going to look like with the pickleball courts and coming up with another solution. But for me, it's clear. I think we should keep them closed and then make them better. That's my.
Chairman Martinez, well, the point is, it's a bigger issue. It's a bummer that we have to address this issue in such a manner because there's people that are not respecting the use of the park. There are people who are not respecting the proper use of the parking lot and entrance. Be nice if you could have that open. It'd be nice if people would respect it. But there's a group of people who are disrespecting the use of the park, and that's the big issue that we're talking about. I wish, I wish we could do something about the people that are misusing the park. And again, we have the law enforcement that was able to enforce the restrictions of the misuse of this park. So right now, the people, the heartfelt feelings of these people live close to it, I mean, it's not safe and it's not comfortable, and and the people that live close to the park, the ones going to use it most often, they're right there. And so let's indeed take up the issue and keep it closed, and let's do something about even if people are still using that park for that reason, that's the big issue, is addressing stopping people from using the drugs, the problem of homelessness, the problem of drugs, the problem of loud music, the problem of kids being out late at night in curfew. That's a big issue. And it's a bummer that the folks have to deal with this. And so indeed, let's not soak it up. Let's indeed for now, keep it closed. Let's see what we can do about making it safe for everybody and utilize that space properly.
And one thing I do want to say really quickly that slipped my mind is just because these parking lots are closed, like some of this activity still happens. We know that we get aware of that, maybe just not in that particular area. And that's why I'm saying it's probably a bigger problem. If it's not happening maybe in those locations, but it's happening in other places.
Chair, could I respond to one? I think I want to just respond about security, and I'm at this point, just to be clear, we do have a security company that is on contract. They come on at 11, they leave at basically 8 in the morning, 7 or 8, to open the gates in the morning and to close the gates at night. Right now, those would leave that gap point, which is kind of the issue that was mentioned between dark during the wintertime season and that 11 o'clock point. So that could be modified ultimately by the council in terms of we have a contract renewal that we're going to be looking at with it, but that involves one person rotating all the parks eventually in one night, documenting where they are and dealing with it. So I just want to be clear about what our security conditions are right now there and elsewhere, and what that looks like. Any and all those things could change, but that is a contract adjustment and money that needs to come. But we try to look at and deal with in Los Angeles. But again, if you've got one person rotating around virtually all the parks at some point during the evening time, it leaves limited time for real coverage with that. But I just there for a time we didn't have security, and our staff was having to stop some of that, and they were out until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning doing that job and doing that duty. So at least we did finally get that coverage.
John, can I ask you a question regarding that? One of the points in the work plan we talked about later is park hours. You mentioned park hours as it relates to time of day. Do the park hours that we're going to discuss at a later meeting, do they have to be uniform, or can we adjust them to respond to community requests for parking lot closures?
Ultimately, the council can do by ordinance whatever they feel is appropriate and necessary for public health and safety. What I would say is that you typically have them fairly uniform, because it's very difficult when people are going from park to park and they have to go look at a sign and try to figure out, is this one open at 7 o'clock in the morning? This one's 9, or is this one closing at 8? The other one 11. So there is a general intention to try to be as consistent throughout your park system. Obviously, our current rules vary, because only the parks that have lighted courts, basketball, tennis, handball, I guess technically, are open till 11 year round. And so we already have some inconsistencies because those are in those parks with it, but they could be reflective of those communities.
If something is open till 11, have that parking lot also open, a parking lot within a certain.
Those in theory could close at an earlier time because you still have parking available from the other parking lots.
John, is it possible, like, the route that security is going and making these trips around the parks during that night, is it possible asking the security company to make an additional 2 stops or 3 stops during that location and process in between the route?
We're in the process of refining the scope of work through the chair. Sorry, I didn't ask for permission to speak. To refining the scope of work for the security. And certainly we're interested in getting a better control over their routes, how they're going, and making sure that they're going through the parks as they should be during the night, and dealing with that. So we're looking at some control points on that. Certainly our scope of work could reflect a more emphasis on particularly those 2 areas. I'm sure we can all identify several other locations that were probably of an area that want special attention to as well. Christmas Hill does have some challenges for sure.
I just have a question. The 2 parking lots that are closed, there's no lighting there, right?
There is one light. There is one light at Wayland, but I don't. I'll ask the resident expert, but I don't believe there's any lighting. I've not seen any lighting. I think the closest light is the one that's on the city's garage in the area there that we use for a little bit of corporation yard for it. So lighting is a challenge. And that could be ultimately one of the conditions that sort of get attached down the road for any number of places that if there isn't parking lot lighting, that's where you would basically have a closure at an earlier time. And again, that could be universally applied anywhere and everywhere. And as we look at the regulations, that's certainly an option, I think. Yeah, I think that's where Commissioner Brenton was sort of heading to a point with that.
I just wanna see the parking lots that are currently open, they also have limited lighting. So
They're-
like, there's limited parking there, there's little lighting, and it's a busy park, like, even if I go there at 7 o'clock at night, like, it's hard to find parking. So, just.
I'm not, I'll just say, staff would like to have, better lighting, in those, but we'd also like to ultimately, particularly one of those lots at Los Animas to do a significant resurfacing of those and look at lighting. But we're, again, struggling with balancing out, needs, wishes and demands with available funding sources.
I think I'll make the ask to my colleagues if they are comfortable enough to. Maybe take what I call it, John, like a stab the issue. A recommendation, make a formal recommendation in council if everyone's comfortable and it feels like they have enough knowledge. To make the recommendation in council.
Yeah.
What I would propose is that we keep them closed until.
So Chair, sorry. I would suggest, since you're going through this, we can jot it down in the form of a motion. So if it sounds like you're preparing to make a motion. And so in that context, I would just suggest you just say, I'd like to make a motion. And then lay it out. We can try to jot it down. We'll try to read it back to you and the commissioners to make sure you're comfortable with that's what you wanted said, and then you can put it to ultimately a second and a potential vote.
Got it. I don't want to make a motion before getting input from the rest of the commission. Do we want to make a motion to keep the parking lots closed until there's a plan in place where there's security, improved lights perhaps, and all the safety concerns are taken into consideration?
Can we make that a little more concrete? Can I recommend support
Please.
that says that a preliminary recommendation, ours is a preliminary recommendation pending input from the police department regarding public safety and from the city regarding cost and feasibility of lighting. Those two items, are we missing them?
Perhaps, I guess, I like to work with engineering. Long as we say that it's gonna remain closed until we, so what I heard you say was, preliminary until we get input from the police department and lighting. I still don't think that might fix some of the issues that we hear from our residents. If there's enough lighting in there, there's security in there, and we can get some assurance that it closes on time and the police make regular patrols, then I think our residents might be a little bit safer. So if that's all the caveats, are there any more? Because I want to make sure that we have something in place that we don't have somebody who wants to open them up because something gets checked off, like the police say, okay, this is fine, we'll patrol once more. I don't know, I guess I'm just worried about the preliminary.
Chair, I and the commission, if I could, I just want to, again, make it clear, this body is a recommending body, and so whatever motion you make needs to be in the form of understanding that you're recommending to the council that they consider these factors should they elect to reopen those or basically again go to that point. I also suggest that your record and what you've said here is pretty clear as individual members of the commission. There may be some consensus to get to that motion and everything with that. What I can say is regardless of whether there is a formal motion and a recommendation, these comments as well as the comments from the public will be conveyed to the council for them to ultimately make policy question and decision, and ultimately they control whether they fund additional security, whether they want to fund additional lighting, whether they want to do those things and deal with it. So it's we welcome a formal recommendation, but absent that, your comments and your considerations are going to be conveyed back to the council fully.
I would like to make a recommendation to the council and to a formal motion. I want them to make sure that it's clear from our side. So what that says, I'm not quite sure yet. I would recommend that we move to make a recommendation to council to keep the parking lots closed and further study regarding safety, regarding lighting, regarding further neighborhood.
I also wanna add, I think operationally, like capacity of the current parking lots, especially with, the new stuff going in, and I think that needs to be a factor as well, because there's no place to park,
I really like what you said.
Mission. So all this right now.
No.
Sorry.
Well, I wanna know about this, the street closing. Is the street gonna maintain closed? That has nothing to do with the park. Those barricades in.
What has everything to do with the park?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I hate to interrupt folks.
Public road.
I get it, but because of Brown Act things, and there's a certain process, so I hate to be the person to stop and interrupt folks, because I get the passion and I see both sides. I'd like to bring it back and
John, can I ask you a question pertaining to this? The barricades are outside of the scope of the parks, is that correct? They're city property and.
Correct. And we will evaluate that and consider whether those.
Am I correct in saying that the Parks Commission can have a recommendation for or against the barricades themselves? It's a little outside of our.
Well, those were never formally acted upon and deal with it. If you want us, if the commission wants to say, look, we think you should, get rid of the barricades because they were not part of the original closure or anything with that deal, by all means, deal with that. That frankly is a staff level decision at this point. I did not, I understood, and I had spoke to the gentleman in the audience last week. He came for the meeting last week, so I was aware this was going to come. That's why the picture was there. But only to say that is not necessarily a purview of either the council or the commission, because those were not put in as part of any of the closure actions that we're dealing with it. They were done at staff level. That was my call. And those can be removed at any time. There's no specific purpose or intent with those at this point.
John, from my understanding, the public will also have an opportunity to make their recommendation before the council. Once we make our recommendation, all this is right now is a recommendation to the council. So additional public comment or rebuttals can be addressed to the council on the day of.
Sure. Well, on the day of and in writing and, whatever ways between now and then as well.
So with that, I would like to recommend that the parking lot be continue to be closed, pending on, more lighting. Bigger parking lots. There's a parking lot right there by the softball diamonds on the east side of the park. Maybe we could expand those parking lots, because it's going to be needed anyways with the additional work that's going to be implemented within Los Alamos Park. Until we get more lighting, extension of parking. Yeah, I'd like to make a recommendation to the commission that it was closed until.
Well, I want to make I like Jesse. I want to make a motion to keep the parking lots closed until they are further evaluated. First, that they are safe and that council also has community input. That sound about there, folks? So making the motion to keep the parking lots closed until it is further evaluated, that they are safe. And that they get, that they have community input, so that it's not just our decision, they're also taking the community's input into consideration. I said.
Moved and seconded. I would call for a voice vote on this one, please.
Commissioner Bozo. Commissioner Brinson. Commissioner Fulos. Commissioner Jimenez. Commissioner Ramirez. Vice Chair Miller. Chair Martinez.
I think it's solely up to us. I think it's important that council also takes. Their decision. Awesome. Thank you all so much. I'd like to move on to the next item on the agenda.
Which is
Update of Las Animas Oaks rescue installation.
we'll do this very quickly.
I think next, right?
You want to let these folks clear? Could folks, could you go out in the lobby? Thanks. Appreciate it. No, thank you for coming.
So. Discussion and recommendation, closure of roadway, tennis courts. I believe we did have public comment for this, correct?
Actually, did we go past Los Animas?
Yeah, we swapped.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay, El Roble.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
I thought you swapped them.
We swapped 1994.
Oh, yeah,
You swapped 94 for 92.
Since we have a public comment waiting.
Yeah, let's do a roadway.
That's yeah, what was next?
Yeah.
El Roble.
Because we have folks waiting also, so it works out perfectly. So do we have?
It's fun when you have
More closures.
items.
There we go. More closures.
All right, I truly will try to be quick. El Roble Park, I don't know how many folks have been out there. But this tennis court is an absolute unfortunate disaster. I get occasionally, it seems like anytime actually anybody actually plays on this court, they email me or send a C-Click fix through Gilroy Connect saying how unsafe it is and why don't we do something about it. Unfortunately, from our assessment of looking at that, clearly they've sort of lost their playability, striping, safety, and ultimately, these courts are beyond repair and are basically representing a potential hazard to users. So we are seeking your input on potential closure and ultimately removal of the court in some form or fashion there. Sorry. So the bottom line on it is that we just are looking for your input right now. We don't have to make a decision on what we replace it with, what's going on. My suggestion ultimately would be probably removal eventually with that. We would close it, lock it up, stop access from it for the meantime. When we can figure out how to get it pulled out of there and deal with it, we would, because of proximity to homes and everything, we would probably look at putting trees in and restoring it. And frankly, if we ever put courts back in some form, it'd probably be closer to the street rather than hidden back and behind that area and dealing with that. But that's well down the road. So that's all I got for you.
Allison Robinson.
I'm sorry about that from the last agenda item. So Allison Robinson, so I used to work for the city of Gilroy as a parks leader. I teach at Christopher High School. I currently have 4 kids, raising them here in Gilroy. All of my kids have attended El Roble school. And I've since been saddened by the idea that the school district of the city has gated off the baseball field. So yet am I not only a community member, but also a baseball coach. We used to use those 2 baseball fields to practice.
And now those two fields are shut down, so as baseball coaches, we're trying to scramble and fighting for fields. Coaches are fighting to try and find places for our kids to play. So, not only does of course a challenge, but it's also a safety issue, which I agree with for elderly school students. On top of that, I have 4 kids very active in the community, and they have been leaving my community here at El Roble Park area to go to Carriage Hill Park to play basketball. Our other parks are thriving with basketball courts. They come home, I ask them if they had great time. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough time to play because there were so many kids playing at Carriage Hill Park, there wasn't enough time for everybody to use the one court that's available. I'm promoting El Roble Park tennis courts to be kept in place and to make it a usable space for kids to play. We have a huge community around that El Roble Park that all play. My kids all play at that park. We still try to practice baseball in the grass fields, even though there's no batting backstop or anything. Having that basketball court, have it refurbished into a basketball court, into a pickleball court, a usable space for kids to play. It could alleviate the problem of having kids doing the bad things and everything that these kids were talking about. There are a small population of kids making bad choices, but the amount of kids in our community making good choices and wanting to get outside and play with their friends at a park, at a usable space, that's a nice place to play, with a basketball court, a pickleball court, doing healthy things. I promote to keep the El Roble basketball courts refurbished, usable, and a usable space. Again, that whole gated off area is now not usable to the public. We have a little playground area, we have a grass area, and we have this wonderful shaded area with a tennis court that could be so utilized for our youth in the community. I wouldn't even say just youth, it could be used for young adults and adults wanting to play pickleball as well. So many courts throughout Gilroy are being utilized, and it's just sad that just sits there as a rotten space, and it's a beautiful park. And so many young kids live there. My kids live there. I have numerous kids that play there. A space for them to go and play basketball, play pickleball. I'm in full support of refurbishing those courts and making it useful for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
But generally, John, what is the cost of like refurbishing versus removing and rebuilding? Like, why was that the option put forward?
You have, first of all, you have significant root intrusion, and in there, you'd see here, most of these cracks are probably not the result, frankly, of soil problems and issues, which is another factor, but are basically root intrusion. And those this is just one of the courts. The other court is in very bad shape. They're asphalt. Basically they're at their life cycle point. Asphalt only has a limited time. You're not going to just throw a layer of AC on top of that and make them work and be stable. So frankly, the cost, this is back to our conversation earlier about the cost of rehab versus reconstruction. In our estimation, looking at this, building a new basketball court would be far less expensive than ultimately trying to rebuild this here in this form, in this way. That's something that certainly could be looked at down the road in terms of whether that's replaced there or again replaced at another location within the park. I think those are things that need to be discussed. And again, I don't like to push this off too far and everything of that deal, but I remind the commission that we have the parks master plan coming. One of the pieces that'll be part of that is every park will be evaluated. We'll look at and assess each one of those things, and the community will have an opportunity to envision and tell you what they want to see on those parks and everything with that. So keep that in mind for the longer term piece of that. But I know that's months in the future, and we're dealing with right now a situation that we kind of need to deal with.
I know that park very well. I believe the park as well. I walk by it almost every day. Those courts, as bad as they are still used.
Yeah, I know.
I saw pickleball players the other day trying to play golf. So it's used by little kids playing soccer in there. So my question to you, John, is it a liability? Are we at risk? It's been open for a long time. Are we at risk for something bad to happen? I would just like to leave them open, as bad as they look, they're still being used. Unless there's some issue that says that people get in trouble, and I would, or just to keep them open. Just to.
They are knowing, and if I could through the chair, we're liability concerned, yes. This is a significant issue and concern. We have conditions there that are ripe for trip and fall and situations, and if you ever watch, follow the council just in our sidewalks. We have multiples every, potentially during months, multiples of trip and falls. I'm surprised we haven't had a situation or a claim here, but we're just as liable for this, knowing what we've got, the situation, than any and all of, in my opinion and in my experience, of the sidewalks and any other place that we knowingly have a problem with this. So, I mean, ultimately, this is also likely to become a council decision ultimately on what they want to do. And that for them is really where the risk assessment comes into the mix. I will say from a staff perspective, we're saddened by the thought of having to do this. I'm frustrated that 10 years ago, we didn't save this and keep and potentially keep some of this and all of this from happening. But this is also why we were so adamant to try to maintain and fix 5 and 6, courts 5 and 6 at Los Animas, because if you don't do that, this is what happens to those courts and dealing with it.
Can I ask you a question, please, John?
Sure.
Are there any other courts, basketball or tennis flat surfaces, asphalt surfaces that have similar trees close by that we have root intrusion issues? And if so, do we have a program for monitoring, or it's different about this court as opposed to the others that got so bad?
Yeah. For the most part, we've built the new parks have been built, and if they've included basketball courts, they have not included trees nearby for the reason. And so if you go to Arroyos Park, you go to some of the other parks around in Sunrise, the tennis courts are out in the middle of an area, really no large trees in close proximity to bring the roots up into that point. And those are large trees. And I should have put a picture of that, but those are significant with significant root structures. And that's the concern, which is that those root structures are significant. And if we go in and restore or go in and try to replace that in situ there with that deal, we could be also putting those large trees, those heritage trees, at risk as well with the root structures. So it's not a great situation all the way around. And there certainly is sufficient parkland there for what this community member is asking for and dealing with that, to look at those things.
Thank you for bringing up that. One more question. Now that we're looking at the map, the trees, the 3 or 4 trees on that border on the right as we're looking at it, are those located within the park, or are those the
large ones? They're park trees. Yeah. And one of the reasons why we when I initially started looking and feeling around for where would we look at pickleball beyond the facility that we ultimately landed on was, what about this? We have this area already with that, but you can see how close those houses are. And right now, I was talking to the Public Works Director in Morgan Hill, and they're going to be installing a soundproof or soundproofing vinyl structure on their courts, because they're getting significant complaints from the neighbors about the noise. So that was a huge concern for me, knowing what the concerns and issues are throughout the state of California, particularly.
Since you looked, are there any other flat-ish surfaces in that new boundary of the park? that would support either pickleball or basketball. Like toward Ren, I think is the street one. But otherwise, it's all pretty landscaped and not flat, is that correct?
Right there where the mouse is, I think is flat, right there.
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, we could be, there's minimal grading. I mean, there's some undulation there, but nothing that's impossible to work with there. Obviously, I'd say the area out very front there, is there's the possibility there, but it's, we'd have to look at the size, and I don't know if that's exactly the front facing out to the street you would want with the park. Maybe that would be fine as well.
Do you have any constraints looking forward if you're like looking to place a new one? Or avoid those undulations or maybe work through them?
This park is relatively flat. I mean, there's undulation, it flows, but you're probably looking at the ability. First of all, we'd have to look at the soil, because that's a factor. We may not be able to just use the soil that's there. We'd have to look at what that is. If we can use the soil that's there, we could basically probably balance the site between the undulations and stuff and not have significant work to do there with that, but.
One last question. Sorry.
Yeah.
There is existing lighting, I believe, in the top right corner and the bottom left corner. I think that's correct. As we're looking at the tennis courts, is that correct? Or is it just one? Are those attached to the tennis courts? If it were removed and demolished, would the lighting go with it? Or is it separate from the tennis structure?
I honestly,
John, you know if that's a light?
Is it integral though? Like,
none of the lights are integral to that. They're always separate from the post and the fence area there with that deal, whatever. That is, it looks like a pathway light. It does not look like just looking at it right now, it looks like it was put in for pathway, it certainly wasn't for tennis court lights.
oh yeah, yeah.
I want to bring us back to the agenda item. So is this something that we need to take action on? What's the ask here? Is the ask, do we keep it closed? Do we close it or do we keep it open?
I would, I'm asking for your position on at least temporary closure and with the look ahead, because I need to take this forward to the council and ultimately decide on this because of my liability concerns.
Are we comfortable making a decision here?
If we can separate, there are two things. One is a recommendation for the report itself. Then there's some sort of plan that should go into the master plan. Do we close it? And if so, can we replace it with something? We can recommend closing it for safety, but then we can put something pegged later to say.
Yeah, but the master plan's gonna address it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I think we have to wait to see what they would recommend based on the needs assessment of what Dory is. So obviously, I think the plan, if it doesn't come out that something needs to be replaced, I think it's a bad plan. It should tell us that something needs to be replaced. So I don't think that's something we can comment now, in my opinion. My opinion is to just close them and keep them open. And I hate to close those gates because I see people in there all the time. If it's a real issue for the city, and now that it's a public record that the city knows it's a hazard, somebody trips and falls, and we've got a lawsuit. And I hate to say it, but I think we have to close it for that reason.
Now, is there, or looking at the picture, is there two tennis courts there?
Two courts.
Two courts, and the one on the east side of the park there, the one on the right. Is that the one where there's having the root problem, obviously, right? Because the trees.
They're both having it. The picture that was shown to you is on the left side, but the root problems are on the entirety of the courts.
On both sides.
On both sides, yeah. The photo I showed on the PowerPoint was on the left side of that, the left court there on that edge there, but there's similar problems. But that area there is on the left side of that court with the fence line running back toward the street.
I'm gonna make a motion to recommend to the council to unfortunately close these courts due to liability issues. Which sucks, but you know, we need to use.
It goes back to like questions like, are we gonna, is there other, I think someone mentioned, I think Andrew did. Is there other courts or playgrounds or sport areas where there's root problems, and if so, are we gonna like, is this gonna be like the convenience thing or shit? Just goes on everything. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I can,
You know,
if I could, what I'm going to say is this. If we have those same situations and we have these kind of hazards, I feel pretty confident that while we would all feel horrible about it and deal with it, we'd feel more horrible about it if somebody breaks their leg, breaks an ankle, hurts themselves on it. And we'd also feel bad for the public who has to pay ultimately the cost for that liability on a known hazard area with that deal. I don't like that answer any more than I think you do across this panel, but that's the reality of where we are. But again, that's why the council is ultimately the one that makes that policy
And
decision.
I'm glad because I don't feel comfortable to take a stand on this, so.
No one wants to second.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about the lessons learned going forward, you know, this park has taken one and then this passes at 2 hits and it closes. From the loss of the space that was fenced out, and now the fantasy tennis courts, which looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe could have been saved. So I would really like something going forward that would be some sort of lesson out of this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Drew.
Almost for some better usage of this.
That was the big reason why we lobbied against you, the Gilroy Unified School District to do joint use. They closed up that thing, that closed up the baseball grounds. I know that, my kids used to play soccer, baseball in this field. But that's the Gilroy Unified School District property, they put that fence. So we need to get them to cooperate with us so we can plan that deal. And that's not an easy solution, it's in the process right now, so it can take some work.
But this is deferred maintenance.
Right.
This is deferred maintenance over a decade probably that may have been preventable, probably could be if you look. But remember, I'll just say this. The Los Animas courts have been rebuilt. They only have I looked this up because I was looking at it for the purposes of the pickleball. There's about a 10 to 12 year cycle on these things where they need to be significantly or almost entirely rebuilt and reconstructed because with the asphalt. So this is a natural man-made deal, but it's a natural occurrence that these things do have a time limit to them and everything like that. More than a day, yeah.
I mean, I agree. It's a community issue. It's not just this, but this is.
I just feel that, yeah, I just feel that all our parks were constructed a long time ago. You know, and I don't think these were forethought about routes and things of that nature to interfere or free closure down to our park usages. And I would hate to see, you know, just this continue to happen.
For that neighborhood specifically, too, there's so many people that live in that neighborhood that we should have that part.
Chair, Mr. Felios is.
Yes, please. I don't know the reason. In the sense of, you got kids that wanna play. We've got to do something to, granted, like, if we're gonna close this, at least offer, there's gotta be some option, and this is where. Working with recreation department again, getting things, you know, showing what is available. Hey, look, kids, you can't play here, but we've got options. We've got places, and it doesn't matter of getting the information out to the kids. And this is where we got to work with the schools. Again, the schools have got this nice. They're worried about what people are going to be trashing. And I said, well, that's part of life. Hopefully we can deal with that. I think the most important thing is to get the kids out there to play. If kids want to play, let's do something to get them to play. If we, and what I'm heavily involved with the Roy Bay Schools, and so if there's some way we could, work again the joint use facility. There's some way we could get the kids. Hey, the kids want to play, and we're closing. And where are we going to do this? We already have these nice places built. That's what they're for. That reminds me of, like when you buy a nice house, well, don't sit on it because it's nice. Well, you buy a house, you can sit on it. We built parks so you can play in them. Let's do that. We built the facilities, but it's just a school. Let's think beyond, hopefully we can think beyond that. If kids wanna play and we want that, if that's important to us. If we wanna say that, hey, let's do what we can to get as many options open, to get as many things. Talk to as many people as possible to get this open.
Can I ask another question before we go on motion here? Is there, last question, thank you, appreciate it. Is there a third option about removing the asphalt surface and having dirt? Or clay, I guess not resurfacing the clay, but just so it's flat and then the immediate tripping danger is removed? Is that something that's?
I mean, what,
If you're gonna close it, and I assume demolishing is part of that, right? So if instead of demolishing, can you just remove all of the things, so you have a fenced in dirt area instead of it giving?
you can't, the fencing is in the asphalt, you're not gonna, the fencing is been beat on for years and
Cut out a.
and everything with this deal. It really, I truly appreciate what your interest is and everything of the deal. There isn't an easy answer and some days I am the Grinch, I guess. I'm having to put it there with that deal that at this point,
Thank you for
I don't think there's a way to salvage this.
Am I right that the intent though is to close and demolish? And not just one of the, it's not just gonna be locked and left to.
If we lock it, if we only lock it and leave it there for infinity, we know folks will climb, they'll get into there, they'll cut through the wire, they'll be in there and deal with it. Yes, there's some coverage, I guess, from a liability perspective, but what purpose are we serving? We're basically creating an eyesore even more if it's closed. Eventually, I would say yes, the objective. Right now, I can tell you, I don't have money in our budget to go in and demolish this right now, so that's something that we would have to look at and deal with it. So.
And we gotta keep in mind, Luis brought it up earlier, the master plan's like right around here, right? So. This should be taken into consideration, right? Vice Chair Miller made a recommendation earlier, do you wanna know?
I made a motion for it to this.
What was that motion again?
I motioned to recommend to the council to close these courts.
Did you say reluctant to close the courts? Sorry, did you say reluctant to close the courts?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I second that.
It is, it's.
Yeah, I agree.
It's statements.
That's the, I agree. I second it.
Do you take a vote on this?
How about a voice vote on this one? I just want to make sure everybody has the chance to.
When we create the master plan, part of that plan is park improvements and a broader budget to be able to implement the park. Is that part of the master plan? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just taking
Yeah, well,
this down.
yeah.
So do I say it or just?
It's been motioned and seconded. Now there's a call for the question on it and we can do a roll call to the chair.
Okay, Commissioner Bozo, Commissioner Brinton, Commissioner Philos, Commissioner Jimenez,
Yay, but with the recommendation of. We got something, make a play, barbecue pit or picnic area out of it.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Yay.
Vice Chair Miller,
Yeah.
Chair Martinez.
Am I able to defer?
Abstain.
You cannot abstain because there's no basis for an abstention.
Oh.
On that, so I mean, you can vote yay, you can vote nay, as Commissioner Jimenez said, if you whatever your vote is, you can make a statement as to why you made that vote for the record and clear it.
Um. And back like yay, Andy.
I'm gonna earn that paycheck for the $0 tonight.
That's billion is out here.
Really feel uncomfortable, but I'm gonna just say damn.
Passes 4-2. Or,
Master plan, come sooner. Okay, awesome. Next item on the agenda.
we'll be amazingly fast here if you
Please.
just bear with us. So, Los Animas restrooms, this is a happy.
Good stuff.
Finally.
All right, so this is a quick update. I'll introduce myself, Matt Jones, Deputy Public Works Director of City of Gilroy. I'm just gonna run through real quick brief history, show you some pictures, show you the cool stuff we're getting done in Public Works. A little background, this from the staff report, you know, the bathroom was over 30 years old. Rough budget when we started this discussion was about $350,000. I want to really bring to your attention that this whole process was done internally in-house by Parks and Landscape staff with some support from the street staff.
Nice.
Approximately 6.5 months. And then again, this is a CXT modular restroom. If you've been to Miller Park, it's the same style, same brand. Christmas Hill Park, we did the same thing. Here's a quick shot of a timeline, November 1st, multi-phase project, all by city staff. And then we knocked out some typical staffing hours. Rough estimate is 336 total labor hours from staff put into this while accomplishing all of their other routine duties. So this was mashing in a lot of work while still accomplishing their routine goals. Current condition, we all know what that looks like. Current, and then now we're starting the demo. Oh, that was a video. There we go. So now the building is gone. And then what you have on the right is staff had set up the utilities prior to the building delivery. So it's all the utility connections, water, power, running conduit. They had to shift out the irrigation controller wiring out of the building. There's a new stanchion case on the right and out of view. And then all the power had to come out as well. So that's all separate from the building now. Here's the day of delivery. Bring in a big crane. They start lifting. And here you go. A little time-lapse video. I'd say it took 3 hours to set the crane up and about 15 minutes to set the building. So all this is very coordinated. They're trying to match up all those utilities, those stub outs within open holes in the building, which then they come back, connect, mortar, and it looks like it was built on site. Apologize for me in the picture. Closing. So through this project, staff estimated the value of in-house delivery, reduce costs, maintain control over quality, adapting quickly. 336 hours invested, about 6.5 months. And really a round of applause to John for really taking this on and heading 99% of this project. John Souza.
That's John.
So it's a good reflection, strong return on city resources, a commitment to improving park facilities in a sustainable, responsible way.
Opening.
We should be open April 10th.
Man,
So
what was
come
the budget? I think you said 350,000.
Was the original, I think the building came in at 214. It was a little cheaper. We ran into inflation.
Can we keep the excess, maybe do something at,
We spent way more than that.
There is not an excess.
There was 36,000 more spent.
Nice
on the
try.
Power. There was
Nice try.
15,000 on the irrigation controller. And then we probably have another 5,000 tomorrow on concrete.
Thank you for that.
So there's no action requested. We just wanted to give you a quick update on what was going on out there.
For Easter.
Yeah. Okay, so update on maintenance method network to Royals. Keep these lean.
But great job done.
All right, so with the split from utilities, Public Works, we have to look at things different. We have less staff. How do we accomplish more with less? Trying to prioritize our daily routine practices and issues that come up. Sidewalks has been a big issue. Couple years ago, we did go through a lot of the parks and do the sidewalk slicing to reduce those trip hazards, but obviously some are so large, we can't do that. It needs to be removed. So working with the streets crew, we identified areas in the park with John Souza and started tackling some of these. And so as most of you know, there is a kinder care preschool down there in the right corner at Los Arroyos, which had one of our largest trip hazards. This is fronting Hirosaki. This is what they look like. This park had been shaved a couple years ago, but we knew we had some big issues to take care of. So addressing aging sidewalk, trip hazards, tree root damage, impacting pathways, ongoing maintenance for park infrastructure. When this park was built, they planted the wrong trees. These trees are not designed for this scenario, this setup. So with the sidewalk replacements, removed 5 trees, replanted 5 Chinese pistache, which are made for these type of scenarios. Here's the guys working on doing a removal. This was all done internal staff. All the replacements here took about 6 cubic yards of concrete. Again, replaced 5 Chitalpa trees with 5 Davy Chinese pistache trees. Again, in-house, little action. This is on the side of the daycare. This was their first one. A lot of these guys, concrete like this was the first time for them. So I spent a lot of time out here on my hands and knees with trowels, helping them, walking through this, screeding, getting them going. So now, this was their first one. There's your last picture. We did 1, 2, 3 separate pours, roughly the same size. So this is our first one, a little longer day, get their feet wet, figure it out. And then by the time we got to the third one, they were like rock stars. So good accomplishment, learning process for these guys. And then, so future, we have a plan to keep moving. Next site, we'll be hitting Carriage Hills. There's roughly 9 flags or sections of concrete that need to be removed. John and I went out and did some driving and walking up parks and continual reports, trip and falls, concerns, see, click, fix. So this will be our next area.
Can I ask you? So going back to the last point, I see trees around, on this slide, please. I see, pretty next one here looking at Carriage Hills.
Carriage Hill. Carriage Hill.
There you go.
Yes.
I see, I don't know, at least a half dozen trees around that court. Are they being monitored for root intrusion? Or maybe they plan for this?
They do have root intrusion. The plan is when we do remove the concrete slabs to install root barriers as well, so that we don't get into this problem down the road.
Okay, so it means planned and funded maintenance to keep the concrete flat, is that correct?
Yep.
Root barriers will make a big difference.
So those are not there now, but they need to be planned.
Deep irrigation is also important too, right when they're growing, so you get the roots going deep. So if you have the bad tree, don't have appropriate irrigation, and you don't use the root barriers, we get Los Arroyos problems.
So root barriers could be implemented at a roadhead.
It's too late.
Yeah, it's too late for
60 years ago, probably, but and they might have gone deeper. So I will say, just before we close on that one, on the Los Arroyos, unfortunately, where that lift was that we had this planned, we had everything scheduled out, and we actually had a trip and fall claim from an elderly individual, I think in that exact location, but definitely on the Los Arroyos, but I think it was that site. So this is why we're concerned about it and dealing with that and trying to address these things with it.
Can I ask you another, sorry, here's my question. This is a City of Gilroy sidewalk, so it doesn't come out of the parks budget. Or at least how it's built. There's separate pots of money, whatever.
We're technically pulling this out of the streets budget.
Yeah.
Right. Where both budgets are general fund to begin with, right? So we're trying to leverage what we can accomplish in streets, what we can accomplish in parks, and try to mend and meld what's going to work best for the city in general.
Thanks.
And we have this band here. We also have one at Sidney Casper. those are the two that I'm familiar that use that double concrete, and I hope we never do that again as well. I'm not sure that really solved anything other than making sure we had more work and more maintenance work to deal with. So it's important when we look at design, they look really good initially. And it looks really cool in the concept plans but we've got to look more closely at what long-term maintenance costs are and how we can manage and deal with that. So that's very important as we look forward.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you for that update. Thanks.
Out on the streets, guys, being able to help us out with something like that is also huge. That to do that outside of with the contractor.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to take a moment to acknowledge that collaboration. And I think that doing all that you can to keep our parks and our sidewalks safe, I'd love to hear about that. I'm sure it's just everybody else.
And I'll plug this.
Okay.
5 guys on our streets crew right now. 8 and what's
8 parks.
8 parks. 26 parks, 300 acres. Now we obviously contract staff and contractors to help us with a lot of this, but it's still a significant lift to just maintain the daily, pick up the trash, get the graffiti cleaned up, change out signs when they're needed, and respond to that point. So the shout out is to our crew that with the very skeleton crew does a heck of a lot of work and great work for this community.
It's roughly 165 miles of roadway they're maintaining too.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, 9.6, discussion and possible action to affirm formal Parks and Recreation Commission tabling ads. We have a list of events. I know there's an event this Friday. What's the best way to kind of go about this? Is there anyone available to table at the traffic safety e-bike awareness? I saw a flyer that's attached to our packet, I believe. That has more information on there. It's this Friday. It's Brownell Middle School. Are any folks available to table there? Luis, I know you initially were interested, but I can't make it that. We can't make it that day, so yeah. Anybody else before? That's
this Friday, right?
That's this Friday.
Yes.
I think you're available.
What I will tell the commission is that the city engineer and I will be in attendance and certainly answering questions and roaming through there. So you will have, regardless, you will have representation there in your interest and everything of that deal, but
you're Friday from 5:30 to 7. No, it's okay. Commissioner Miller, no, available itself. No, so unfortunately, we don't have the bandwidth for that. Next item on the list is Earth Day events, but I don't see any date or time.
The date. The Gilroy the gardening plant sale is the 18th, Saturday, the 18th. That's the Miller Red Barns. And we will be tabling our folks and also giving away mulch. On the 18th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the spring. It's the spring plant sale, and that's the that they do that in conjunction with Earth Day.
The Earth Day event
at Christmas Hill Park. That's Earth Day.
They had a different Earth Day location last year. Are they doing different?
There was 2 last year, I believe, one at San Ysidro and one there. We've not heard about San Ysidro, maybe obviously.
And Arbor Day celebration. Also said it's April 22nd.
That's
a flyer.
That's an Arbor Day. We linked it up with Arbor Day and Earth Day this year for the first time. April 18th at Christmas Hill, 8 to 2.
8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Is there anyone available for that? Commissioner Miller, you were there last year.
Yeah, I split the day between San Ysidro and
Yeah.
Planchet. But I can do the 18th. Sean, are you gonna be there already with the table and stuff?
We will be there with tabling, so we can, you can use,
Okay.
you can use our, we'll have chair, whatever there.
I could be there too. Perfect. April 18th.
Awesome, Commissioner. Saturday, 18. Saturday, Red Barn. Red Barn.
Yep.
Perfect, so Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Jimenez will be the leads for that event. And it sounds like Commissioner Felix might.
Yeah,
also be back. Perfect, awesome. Arbor Day, the 22nd, that's the one where we actually go out and plant trees, correct? That's gonna be that day. I plan to be in attendance. I can make it. Yeah, so Javier and Luis.
That's on a Wednesday.
That's on a Wednesday, yes.
What time?
Yeah, that's.
Flyer is in there, 2 to 4:30. 2 to 4:30. Sunrise Park.
Awesome, and then the next item on the list is Dia del Niño. Direction there, but that is on May 1st. Anybody's available to that.
May 1st.
That is. No, it's May 1st, that's the wrong date. It's not.
So Chair, in light of the time and everybody's answering this, we can bring back, if you want to, at your April meeting, since there's some time between that point and people can think about it and deal with it if
I
you want
agree.
to.
I like it.
With that deal, and we can bring back and sort of talk about some of these other ones.
I
if they
think what we
later.
can do moving forward is we could plan a month or two in advance. That way we don't have to figure out the whole year now, if that sounds okay to folks. I don't know what we'll do tomorrow, so. I love that idea, perfect, but at the very least, we address next month, which is gonna be April. Correct? Right.
Yes.
Anything else that I'm missing on there in April? No, Cinco de Mayo, is that it?
No. That's,
May? Okay, cool, awesome.
I hope it's in May.
Moving on to old business, looks like to have like.
Cinco de Abril.
Sounds like, I don't know where it falls like.
It might be on the, it might be on the 4th, I don't know, I need to look at it, I heard it might be on the 4th.
No old business, perfect, awesome, department update.
Here's what I'm gonna suggest tonight is that you have the department updates in the package. If you're okay with those, we'll just leave that as your report out. And we will waive further reading because we talked to you about 2 major efforts that we're doing, which we'd normally catch up on the operations update side, but that's your call.
Are folks okay with that recommendation that we have the updates in our packets and we can take a look at them? And if you have any questions, we can always feel free to reach out to Pamela and John for any clarification. Is that accurate, John?
Perfect.
Okay, do I need to make a motion for that? Beautiful.
Accepted.
Awesome, so we're gonna move on to item 12 on our agenda, which is our park report outs and comments.
Chair, I might suggest that focus on problem areas and everything with those, and focus on those with the parks rather than, maybe going through the issue of, these are wonderful. We appreciate those, but we're interested mainly on what are we failing on?
Concern, right?
Please don't put the tennis courts at El Roble.
Okay, awesome. Would you like to start us off, Commissioner Jimenez?
Yeah, nothing to report.
Commissioner Britton?
Los Adams and El Roble have been discussed. Where's Sports Park is sparkling and they're playing baseball. And I have no concerns at this time.
Thank you.
I do wanna say about the sports car, now the other bathroom. Is out of order, I'm sure you guys are aware, but we got the door replaced on the middle one and now the side one is out of order, so hopefully we know the process now. Get that resolved.
When was this?
It's been out of order for maybe a month and a half, maybe longer. There's a sign on the door.
I'll check.
I think it's the same issue as the middle one where the door is like stuck or. And then what else did I have? Christmas Hill, I sent a text to John already, and I reported a bunch of issues in Sequid Fix. I was over walking by the amphitheater, and it is like honestly embarrassing. Like it looks not good at all. So I reported all those on C-Click Fix, but the retaining walls are falling, and the grills are falling in on themselves and decaying. The stairs are crumbling, and it's busy. Like there was like multiple sports teams, people are using it, and it's a shame, honestly, that they have to live with this. And the amphitheater looks pretty good, to be honest. And so, so yeah, there's definitely work to be done there. And then Sydney Casper, it looks good. It's really
I won't talk anymore about Los Animas. Great work at Los Arroyos. Rainbow Park looks good as well. For San Isidro Park, looks like there might be termites in the community center buildings. Is there a plan to have restrooms, portable restrooms available? For that in the meantime, you know?
Where's your, why don't we talk offline?
Absolutely.
And you can explain to me where it is. I recently, February 1, I took over facilities, so I'm fleet, so I'm picking up more things in that issue, so.
Perfect, and just because I promised folks out on the basketball court, they love how you all replaced the rim that was broken. Now they're hoping that the same could be done for the other side, because I guess there's a single rim, there's a double rim. So I promised folks I'd bring that up in the meeting. Other than that, nothing else to report.
Nothing to report.
Parks look good, 100% report in parks, look good. The shade, Hager Pass Road, the shade is put up over, shade is good. And the lady said, it'd be great if that shade everywhere. The more shade we can get, you can somehow work up some money to get some more shade, the better. Parks. And so, well done, you go, oh, shade is great, okay, Christmas Hill. Walnut area, the first day, as soon as you go into the park, you'll see the softball thing right there, it's like, right there at the Walnut area. It'd be wonderful, people go over there all the time, the water fountain doesn't work. If it would be great to have a nice water fountain right there. So the Walnut area, the water fountain in the it's called Walnut area, but yeah. That would be great to have a water fountain work.
Perfect, director's report.
Only one quickie, we do finally have a fully signed memorandum of understanding for the story walk at San Isidro. So, I'm working on some construction detail issues with the district and location wise, but we pretty much have that done, and we are looking most likely in May for those to be in place sometime in May.
Got it, awesome. Can I make the recommendation that it be done on June 26th? I believe that's a party in the park event that happens at San Isidro.
Sounds like that's gonna be something we can work with.
Perfect, awesome. Future commissioner initiative items. That fall back onto us.
That's your call.
I go to these county-wide bike and pedestrian advisory commission. And I think it could be good somewhere on the agenda to report out maybe like what I'm named there. About what this is about.
Yes.
It actually is not. This is if the commission wants to consider other items in the future that you'd like to talk about and deal with it.
Well, yeah, I would like to add that.
Yeah, but under 12 overall, there's a point for comments, which is also report outs. So we can add Commissioner Park reports, comments, and report outs.
Okay.
So it would be perfectly appropriate.
You guys, Commissioner Lewis. anything for, any future item for the commission?
I'm still working. I'll follow you.
Ask me a question about, finishing or approving or not recommending that this all. We had public comment on this twice. And this we need some way to circle back.
I thought we addressed it with our last meeting, it was that we're going to look at that. When it comes to the needs assessment, right? And so,
It's just awkward because it comes to public comment, you can't close it as. Two, we could put something to just make that point. Is he really comment on the point as an agenda?
John,
I'm happy to, I did reach out and I also spoke to him, Malachi last week. He came to the meeting, it was canceled. He was the one over in the parking lot at the library, so I had a good conversation with him. I think let me talk through if I can work with the chair, if there's an interest in at least having an item on the agenda to be able to discuss and what we can and can't do perhaps on that, that would then give closure on it and for one way or the other on this issue. When I did speak to him, and I'll do this under the director's report, I spoke to him in the parking lot last week, and what he did clarify that he was not looking, they were not looking to do this in the improved area. They were looking at basically the grassy area, which is what their map shows. I think some of the comments from the commission, I think we shared concern if they were trying to do disc golf along with, hundreds of kids out playing soccer and around there and dealing with that for instance, but.
Okay, so Commissioner Brittany, your ask is that we follow up with Malachi and update him on what we discussed in the commission. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you do that, John?
I will.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Commissioner Jimenez?
For future commissioner initiated items, would this be the appropriate time to talk about? Or is that a master plan in regards to how we could improve our parks and how can we increase our budget to be able to, just execute all those needs? Would this be the appropriate time or?
I want to say that's a master plan.
That's master plan, yeah.
Sorry, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Yes, you're asking, yeah.
Very well. I have nothing to add myself. Looks like we can wrap up this meeting. March 24th, approximately 8:38 p.m. Thank you.
It's the regular meeting date. Did we have it on our agenda? The 21st? April 21, I guess, is what we're looking at.
Which would be.
It would be,
21st, right?
yeah, it'd be on your regular day.